Hello, everyone, and welcome back to MMR's Off the Air podcast. Today, we will be discussing Mitski and Mitski's album Laurel Hell. I am joined here with my friends. Well, I'm Lauren.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Christian.
And we're really excited to get into this topic. If you're interested in MMR, come on down to Moore Hall. Come visit us. We have meetings every Thursday at 7. All right. So, Mitski, this is, if you couldn't guess, Lauren's recent development has been listening to a lot of the Mitski album because she released it recently on February 4th. But we're just going to get a little background in about who Mitski is and how she has affected the music industry recently. So I did some research and I found out a little bit about her background, her life before music. She was born in Japan. She is known for being a Japanese-American artist with a lot of really interesting aspects of Japanese music and writing in a lot of her older works. She lived in Turkey, China, Malaysia, Czech Republic, and Democratic Republic of Congo for a while as well. She moved around a lot as a youngin'.
Dang, she's been all over the place.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, she really moved around a lot in her early life with her dad, I believe, being from America and her mom being Japanese. And then she ended up studying music. She went in originally for arts, majoring in film, I believe.
Yeah, I saw that when I was doing research.
Yeah, so she was looking into a lot of the artsy-fartsy stuff when she was first getting into the secondary college education world, and eventually kind of realized that music was the path she wanted to go on, and she became super passionate about it. She self-released her first 2 albums before getting signed to a label, and those were huge, I feel like, as a part of the internet culture that she accumulated. Was those 2 first albums had a lot of deep emotional content to her and a lot of stuff that people hadn't seen before out of indie pop artists.
Yeah, because her first 2 albums were the early 2010s, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
2013, 2015, around that time?
Yes, I believe so. I know a lot of people hadn't really heard from her or heard about her until Be the Cowboy, with especially Be the Cowboy becoming huge on TikTok. I think that's kind of where she got her mass fame, and a lot of people were using a lot of the songs like Me and My Husband over TikToks. It's got a fun, funky vibe, that album, released in 2018, and so it was easy to listen to during the pandemic and kind of feel like the main character. I know she kind of had that main character vibe for a lot of people, but her previous albums, Puberty 2, Bury Me at Makeout Creek, and then Retired from Sad, New Career in Business, are the ones that I feel like there is a big part of her fan base that are first and Lush. First 4 albums are the best albums, as a lot of people do. I know the first time I ever heard from her was I heard her singing a live rendition of Class of 2013, a track that's really emotional about her relationship with her mother, off of Retired from Sad, New Career in Business. And there was this video that went around that was viral of her singing into her guitar to get these weird harmonic distortions.
Yep, I did see that, yeah.
I've seen that too.
That was the first time I had ever seen her, and it was at the height of quarantine. And I just was this is interesting. I'm going to do some research.
So, due to TikTok, her rise to stardom, so to speak, was, pretty recent, relatively, right?
Yeah, I would say her rise to mainstream stardom. I think that she always kind of had a group of people that were going to follow her because they could tell she was passionate about her work and that the work that she was producing was unique enough to, gain attention from those people that were really into, the female indie and even Japanese American indie vibes. But there were a lot of people that came in on TikTok after she kind of blew up and were a little bit gatekeeping, being no, don't come in and take my favorite artist, new white girl that has figured out that she is sad over quarantine, because a lot of those lyrics, like, people held on to them in a really, really strong way. And Mitski, as an artist, as I've come to find with my research, isn't someone that particularly feels a super strong connection with her fan base any longer because of the mainstream fame that she's acclaimed. You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
Yeah, I read on Pitchfork that at one point she was on tour and somebody from the crowd screamed, "I loved you, Mitski," or "I love you, Mitski," and she was like, "You don't know me." She leaned into the microphone and goes, "You don't know me." And I think that kind of set up this new release for her, like this understanding that the industry is wide and vast, and a lot of people feel like if they have a favorite musician, they know them personally. There's kind of this change in culture with YouTubers and artists, specifically with the age of the internet, and even celebrities to a degree, where people just feel like they know the people that they support, but they don't oftentimes. Have you guys ever experienced anything like...
Yeah.
Totally, I think in the new age of TikTok, I can totally see, like YouTube, I can see like around that era, things were a bit longer and things were a bit more developed as far as like big popular projects. But things like TikTok, you know, you can take someone's song, and I'm assuming, I haven't seen the TikTok specifically about Mitski, but I'm assuming they're like, you know, "Oh, I just got broken up with," or like I can see the TikTok that's made. It's not one where they're dancing or doing something funny. It's something slow and kind of like emotional. And for someone like Mitski, who obviously cares about music, wanted to study music, has a lot of history with, you know, being part of a minority group and growing up in all these different places, feeling out of place, not knowing her spot, you know, relationships with her family. She has to pull that really deep from the heart and really think about her lyrics, because she has some really great lines and really great songwriting ability. And for someone just to kind of snip, copy, paste over like, you know, "Oh, my ice cream fell in the street," you know, and then put that over it. I can definitely see, especially the fans and also her being like, you know, "Hey,
Give
like,
it the
love,"
respect.
Yeah, I could definitely see for like from her point of view where something like that, like a TikTok taking one of her songs like out of context or something, can like really like kind of like belittle her work and kind of the emotion that she put into it. Because especially after listening to her newest albums, to her newest album, you can definitely tell that she puts her heart and soul into it. Like she's talking about some very like very deep things here, and she also covers like a wide array of issues, which
a lot of them are doing like relationship.
Yeah.
I know with Fame, I think it was also in Be the Cowboy, she talked about the relationship with fame, and that being, I think a lot of artists have, where once they kind of get it, it's kind of like you just can't get it off, and it, you know, it becomes more constraining the more you have it. And, you know, I can definitely see her wanting to kind of break out of that, but it's hard when you have contractual obligations, and also if you already have this fan base, there's like people are waiting. You know?
Right. It's very like, I feel like prevalent, especially with, once again, the use of social media. These artists have a way to directly say how they're feeling outside of their music too. So things can be interpreted a certain way by an audience member, and it will be so personal to that audience member. But for the artist giving out their art, it has been like an eternal struggle since the beginning of time for artists dealing with fame, realizing that once they reach their peak fame, despite the fact that this is what they wanted their whole lives, they don't feel that satisfaction. And unfortunately, they don't feel like they can maintain this lifestyle forever. Right now, she's still really, really big, and this release has been like critically acclaimed. A lot of people were really excited for it when it happened, despite the fact that it's only a 35-minute album. But she's also going on tour with Harry Styles for Love on Tour. Yeah, she was opening up for Love on Tour, which was a pretty big deal. There was a lot of overlap, I'd say, with... big community I forgot to mention that a lot of Mitski fans like are a part of is the queer community. I feel like she speaks a lot to, once again, people of minorities, like minority ethnicities, as well as like queer communities, because there's just kind of this general vibe to her music that explains it from the personal perspective of somebody that feels like an outstander, like someone that doesn't relate to everybody around her all the time and is always feeling these complex emotions about her standing in the world. But like we said, she really had a long career in music in general. She worked with a lot of different artists and was a part of a band called Coils from 2013 to 2015. She's collaborated with some of my faves like Lucy Dacus, which was pretty cool for me. And she kind of has inserted herself into this like indie community. And I think that right now that is like a booming community of artists. Like, I'd say indie music has become mainstream to a certain degree.
Yeah. We talked about this.
With it, yeah.
Last semester about, what is indie when they're big? Like, how big can you still be indie? And I think definitely with her, it's definitely the sound she gives, because a lot of it is her vocals at the forefront. And a lot of her songs. She has a great voice. And throughout, she does have some variety, especially from Be the Cowboy. There was a lot of like disco elements, a lot of like kind of like almost like country-esque. Like, she obviously like took inspiration from a lot. So I feel like that's something she can pull from. And I think it works in the sound because she's not really big and proclaiming. But yeah, I kind of wonder if, like, we're talking about the TikTok era, like, I hate to say like generalization, but I feel like a girl that would take her song and put it on a TikTok, it's like almost like her trying to be unique and special when, like, I don't know, no offense, it's just like, I don't know, me taking a song and putting it is not really...
Right. Yeah, I do see that. I think that, obviously everybody has the right to enjoy the music that they enjoy, and the gatekeeping culture can be upsetting at times. But I think, once again, as we were saying before, it's kind of the disrespect for the amount of emotion that the artist has put in that really sets that TikTok, Instagram, any social media, like, kind of pedestalization of, like, your own personal issues, and instead just mainly focusing internally. Which brings me to the point of quarantine. Obviously, she blew up then, and that might have a lot to do with this album's lyrical content, and also a lot of people's relation to this lyrical content now, because Be the Cowboy was released in 2018, and the albums prior, with a lot more dark, depressing material, were released at a time where there was no global pandemic, and people that were depressed often found those depressed lyrics, depressed artists, and felt like a stronger connection. But then with quarantine coming in, almost everybody felt depression. Almost everybody kind of had to recognize that mental health is a real issue and something to talk about. And I think that a lot of the people that ended up finding Be the Cowboy alone didn't take into account all of the previous albums that she had to share a lot of her emotional issues on. And then it comes back to this new album, and she's back to sharing these emotional issues in a way that's really poetic and rather cool, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, especially on this newer album, like, her integration with her, like, really kind of deep lyrics and, like, heavy lyrical substance, combined with, like, her 80s kind of, like, experimentation with just kind of, like, the indie and, like, the pop sound. It was, like, really interesting, which kind of, like, it kind of, like, grasped me in and intrigued me a lot.
Yeah, a lot of synths, a ton of synths in this album, which I, for a while, was, like, big into being like, I don't like the 80s. What do they have to offer other than Toto?
Oh.
and then I was like, wait, maybe I should do some more research. And I've kind of started to enjoy 80s music and revival 80s music even more.
Yeah, 80s mainstream pop cannot be beaten.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
It is. It is.
Some rock bands from the 70s and whatnot kind of got lost in the 80s, but then some, really came through. Like, I think of a classic as like Yes. It's like they had a couple good songs, but then like the overall sound of the 80s really diminished them. Whereas like you get like Michael Jackson, you're like, oh, well, that's 80s.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like the best. So yeah.
Definitely. So do we want to start diving into Laurel Hell about all of the content that
I guess
goes around that?
Before that, I got a general question. You know, we talk about her being second generation, right?
I believe so.
Immigrants or, you know, citizens. So with that, have you guys had any artists that you know are kind of embrace their heritage a lot in their songs, in their like overall musical style? Is it something that is prevalent enough for you to be like, you know, I guess give it that label? Like to me, there's this girl called May, I think I pronounce it Maye, and she is Spanish. So she has a lot of, like, she will be bilingual in her songs sometimes,
Ooh,
and it's like
okay.
really nice. Or some songs will just be completely in her native language. But with that, she's pulling a lot of like, I mean, obviously the sound, it's almost like I don't want to say, oh, it's just like a pop sound, because at that point it's like, well, now we're deciding like, you know, where you live, like where it sounds. So, you know, I just didn't know if you guys had any, especially like bilingual artists that you love a lot.
Yeah, the one coming to the forefront of my mind right now is Lil Sims.
Yeah.
I mean, like after we obviously talked about Lil Sims in length on our the last episode that we did in 2021, but like that's sometimes I might be introvert. Her last album was kind of like the encapsulation of her heritage. Like it brought in sounds from UK drill, which have been like extremely popular and kind of like left by the wayside in the United States mainstream, but also coming in with like Afro-punk influences with just great songs like oh god, what can I think right now?
You're good. That whole album was fire, and I
Yeah.
listen to it constantly now.
I'm so glad to hear that.
I
am so
really
happy to
enjoy.
hear that.
I thought you were going in a different direction
Oh,
than
really?
Little Sims because Kelly Uchis.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Oh, my God.
Queen
Yeah.
Kelly. I fell in love with her music, especially around the age that I wanted to travel to Spain or to Latin America because I was studying Spanish. And, you know, for a lot of people in America, the best way to learn a language is to kind of throw yourself into content related around the language. So I would listen to a lot of like songs with Spanish lyrics or TV shows with Spanish subtitles and such. And Kali Uchis, I was just like, ooh.
Yeah.
With Telepatia, that was a fun single, and the whole album.
So after seeing Tyler, Kelly Uchis actually opened up for him, and it was actually a phenomenal experience. I have not enjoyed an opener that much because she, I think it is Telepathia, where she kind of like switches back and forth between English and Spanish.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Que no le dia or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song, and it made it onto the charts and was playing on the radio, and I think that's kind of cool that we had that.
Yeah. Speaking of TikTok, that song was huge on TikTok.
Huge on TikTok.
I wasn't even
mean,
on TikTok at the time. It was huge, but like I just saw stuff on like my Twitter feed with like that song.
Yeah, she was big. I know that I forget what the name of the album is, but the album where she's laying on the blue like silk. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
She had some lyrics in there that I believe were Spanish, and they were always super fun. Another one that I thought of that Regina Spektor. I am just now getting into Regina Spektor, and I know that she has a few different languages in a few different of her songs, and I don't know if they're related to her culture.
More than two?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I know she's got some Russian, she's got some French. I'm pretty sure she is Russian.
Okay.
But I think that like that little like push from just a beautiful song to adding in a whole nother like language can really intensify like the emotion that you feel, even if you don't know what the lyrics are saying.
Especially like a language like French or Spanish.
Yes.
Just like the natural cadence of it is can flow very well. Whereas like a classic of mine is like Rammstein, like Du hast. It's like German, because German's just punchy and really loud and a lot.
No, that's
hard
Rammstein's
consonants.
fun.
That's a
They
very
are
good
fun.
point. Like going back to the Kelly Uchis set, like her whole vibe was like going for this like really like sexy and overplayed tone, and her Spanish songs fit extremely well into that.
Yeah.
Like extremely well, which I mean,
Yeah.
like who can complain at that point?
I know. I
Like,
saw her live at one point. She opened up for Lana Del Rey,
Yeah.
and oh my God, she's
She's
ethereal.
so good live.
She's so good live.
Yeah.
Like, it was, I honestly thought that she outperformed Lana.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's tea.
That was tea. But anyway, yeah, I think that integration for Mitski, even too, like there are a few songs off of Take Me to Makeout Creek in which she has some Japanese lyrics, I know for sure.
Yeah, because I only got to able to review her
Bury Me
latest
at
two,
Makeout
and then
Creek.
like a couple random from Puberty 2. So
Yeah.
I mean, you can really see like how her kind of like general uniqueness kind of formed with, I mean, living in all these different places and kind of like absorbing the culture in a way. I mean, I'm not saying that's exactly what she did, but like it's very easy to take influence from those places when you're actually there, you know?
Yes, definitely. I think that she does that super well too. And generally, she has a unique sound to her. Now, I'm not sure if that's because we don't have a lot of people that have Japanese American influence in the mainstream indie. We do, but
I've heard a lot of
mean-
Japanese, like, well, there's like math rock that I know that
Right.
specifically is Japanese, or kind of like more electronic pop, more like electronic, like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like it's almost like video game glitchy
yeah.
type of electronics. So, but that's where I've mostly heard it.
Yeah, I can really only think of Joji, but he might be Korean, so I'm not even
Joji,
sure.
I think, is Korean.
Is he?
Yeah, I mean, I know that math rock is something that I tend to enjoy, but
Yeah.
it almost Mitski does not sound like math rock to me at all.
Oh, I mean, of course not.
So like, there's obviously differences in individuals performing from any culture. I mean, we got country, we got everything here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's a lot of
Yeah, I just think overall artists shouldn't be afraid to. I mean, I don't think they are afraid, especially like true artists. They're not afraid to bring in new sounds, even new languages to their music, because I feel like they can get across a lot more personally, and that would help. And a lot of, I mean, especially I think now being in 2022, like we've started a strong dialogue a couple of years ago, and now I think like the oncoming cusp of artists, especially ones that haven't really released anything yet, I think are going to be like culturally strong, where having the opinion of like, I don't know, I think, having a separate genre, like, oh, well, they're, like Latin influence, this influence, I think music's going to be like the bigger melting pot where it's just going to be kind of good music.
I mean, yeah, that's actually really interesting because like I'm kind of over here thinking now, like since music and culture are so like interconnected, it must be like relatively easy to just grab onto something of your culture and kind of just like make some music like surrounding that whole vibe. I mean, easy is not the right word for it, but kind of just
it
like,
feels right.
Yeah, exactly.
It
exactly.
feels like something you should be doing as a person. I totally recognize that. I mean, you create what is around you a lot of the times. I mean, and sometimes you consume a lot of what is around you. But I think it's cool that we have these opportunities with people of different heritages and different cultural influences on music that are kind of blowing up in different areas of music, like indie music for Mitski as an example, and kind of providing this almost tangible look into the different worlds of music that you could explore out there. Yeah. And I think that, there is a time and place for recognizing when something is being kind of disrespectful in interpreting these kind of cultural differences, but then there's definitely cultural appreciation in music that is really, really cool to witness with the coming age of the internet and all of that stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I really liked researching about Mitski and getting to know who she was a little more.
She seems like a very
chill.
interesting artist.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, she doesn't seem like she's like other artists of today, you know what I mean?
She's not like other girls.
She's not like other girlies, no.
She's a little underground, a little indie.
Yeah, but I think it has a lot to do with her being reserved too, because you guys talked about maybe watching a few of her interviews, right? And she seems to be kind of like laid back, reserved, not really willing to give out that same like softness and emotional like discussion of content and lyrics on these albums, as a lot of people that are really trying to be famous and are really trying to maintain that status of fame do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I just gotta imagine like how awkward it must be for Mitski to like be interviewed about her like lyrical substance when she's just chilling or something.
Right.
Like, man, come on. It's all in the music. Like, I put it out there. I'm not trying to think about that right now. Like,
Right.
come on.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
even like trying to be a marketable person, because she, and kind of hearing the lyrics and from interviews and, what Lauren has also told us about her as an artist ever since Laurel Hell came out, you can tell she's kind of on the, wanting to leave
Yes.
the music industry. And, I feel like with someone's like trying to be like, oh yeah, put me as the figurehead of today's music. Like I can just be an empty vessel, put everything through me. I'll say whatever. You want me to sport Gatorade? I'll do it. But she's just like, nope,
Yeah.
I'm good.
It's that uniqueness that really draws a lot of people in. It's that authenticity. That's the word. It's that authenticity that really draws a lot of people in. And I feel like even, you just went to the Tyler, the Creator concert, but even Tyler, the Creator to me gives that similar vibe, because if you've ever seen him in interviews, he's goofy and stuff. But man, I feel like if I talked to Tyler, the Creator, he would not like me. And I would be able to tell. Do you know what I mean? Like
I mean, he does make it very apparent when he doesn't like people.
he's a straight up like individual person, and he's not gonna mess around and deal with other people's like
Yeah.
BS
Yeah.
in order to like further his fame. And because he is such an authentic person, I feel like he gained this mass audience in a similar way that Mitski did. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, that was like when I'm talking about this concert a lot, but anyways, like when I went to it, that was kind of like one of my most like eye-opening things, because when like you see him in the interviews being goofy and being silly and like just this energetic dude, he's the same person in concert. Like he brings that same exact energy, which is just really weird to see in person, because like I've seen all the interviews, all the whatever, all the videos, and it was just like, it was weird seeing that in person, and kind of like, I don't know, just kind of really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
And I assume a lot of fans of Mitski get that same vibe.
Yeah, I bet.
Her live performances are often recorded and posted on places. And even recently, Mitski went on to say in like an interview, I believe, or maybe directly to fans, not sure which, please stop recording whole songs at my concert and then posting them on YouTube, because I'm doing this for the art. I'm not doing this to have like replications of every individual concert out there for other people to enjoy. That's why I release the music.
And I'm sorry, but no one's going to watch your whole Snapchat story of a 3-minute song.
Right.
No one, and same with like fireworks or like anything else live.
This is a tangent,
It's
but
like,
yes.
well, it's true, because, I went to the Magdalena Bay concert last week, and this guy in front of me, I think, recorded like 5 whole songs. And like, hey, I get it. It was a cool concert. It was cool to see the visuals. But yeah, same thing with Mitski's getting at. It's like, I want this room to be this moment, and that's it. And that's what it should be. And also, like, you're never going to look back and like listen to the song through your really bad phone speaker. Like, I don't know. That's
And hear
just me.
yourself singing in the background and be cringing on the
Yeah.
inside too. Like
Yeah.
it's not worth it, man.
To be fair, that dude did have a couple drinks, so
okay.
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 but it was still good.
I mean, are you even like at the concert if you're just staring?
Yeah, and I don't
at
want to
your
look at it
phone?
through my little phone.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, he's a lot smaller there. Huh?
Yeah.
I'm the person that does not watch my phone when I'm recording at a concert, because I'm like, oh, I gotta leave with one little bit of the concert,
And then like
and then it's just like off to the side.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
oops, because I'm so in it, I'm not gonna focus
you're
on
like,
my
why'd
phone.
you just film this like dude's head in front of you?
Yeah, why'd you film the
So
left
with the
like
energy,
speakers?
man.
That's
Come
it.
on.
I really like this hat.
Okay, so shall we dive into the album
Yes,
at this
let's do
point?
it.
All right. So, as I said, it was released in early February, but I know that Working for the Knife was released earlier than that, because when it dropped, I was like, gotta listen to this. New Mitski, here we go. And I really liked Working for the Knife, and funny enough, heard it on my way home from work. And I was listening to the lyrics and kind of had this moment of like, Mitski, you're famous though, and rich. Life's easy for you. You're not working for the knife. What are we talking about? In the world of the internet talking about late stage capitalism, Mitski, how can you be out here complaining about your job? But then after the release of the whole album and her interviews and like reviews, it makes sense. The context makes a ton of sense with Working for the Knife being a super kind of upset song about having to continue to push toward this career that you're not passionate about anymore and that you thought you loved.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask if you kind of like, because when I was listening, it kind of seemed like she was describing herself as being put in like a creative box of some sorts, and I didn't really know if she was talking about like the music industry in general or just like something else. So I'm glad you clarified for that for me.
Yeah. There's a lot throughout this album of discussion of I always expected this to be the best and then it wasn't, and now what do I do? Because now I'm realizing that what I've worked for my whole life wasn't anything near what I wanted it to be. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that she still loves and values the content that she's created for people. And I'm sure that she really values the relationship she has with her audience. I mean, even going so far as to say thank you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here, like throughout the album in so many words.
Yeah, I think on one of the tracks she straight up just says it.
Yeah, she does. But it's the last verse in Working for the Knife, she says, I thought the choice was mine and I was right, but I chose wrong. And that kind of just solidifies it. She recognizes that she was the one that chose this path, but unfortunately it's not the way that it had seemed when she was so young and like looking forward to that. So that was the first single that was released.
And I feel like even though without the music industry, I mean, there's a lot of artists who felt that way. Like, top of my head is Kurt Cobain. Like, he actually had some very depressing lyrics about life and, you know, I guess like the system, the way the world works. But people only listened to it for like the rock and roll and like heard the energy and really like that, which I feel like with Mitski and her music, you can enjoy it, but I feel like that environment of listening makes you more drawn to the lyrics, especially because her voice is the most prominent in the track. It's always in the forefront. It's always very clean. I always like that.
Yeah, I noticed that too, that on many of the songs, the instrumentals take a back seat, which, I mean, I usually don't like, but in this case, I think it worked very well because of her lyrical substance and what she was actually saying and how like actually important it was for her to say clearly.
Yeah,
you know.
I see what you're saying, but I honestly disagree with you
Oh,
because
really?
I feel like the surrounding music plays a role in the kind of discomfort that Mitski feels. You notice that a lot of songs will stop abruptly from going from the verse to the chorus, or these synths will drone into like this insufferable, like big swelling, uncomfortable vibe, and then all of a sudden
Yeah, it
gone.
just. Oh, what track was that? I know exactly what you're talking about.
It happens actually, I believe, a few different times.
Oh, really?
But I think Everyone is one of them.
Oh, yeah, it was Everyone.
Yeah, that you're probably thinking about. And then it slows down and leaves the last two lines. Sometimes I think I am free until I find I'm back in the line again. And that kind of energy is throughout the entire album. Every song kind of ends with her being like, so I just gave you this whole song. And it's all about how I would do anything for you, Fame. I would do anything for you, Fame. But at the end, I'm going to let you know that it hurts to do that. Like, it genuinely hurts me to be doing everything for you.
Yeah, I mean, she kind of explains throughout the album of how, like, her relationship with Fame has become so toxic and so, like, just disjointed from her original, like, conceptions of it, and which was honestly really smart and something that I admire from this album a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And especially when, you know, even like the title, Working for the Knife, like I'm imagining her at knife point, because a lot of times when you make music on your own terms, especially when it's art, it's something that is personal to you. You pull from a lot of different inspirations and a lot of different part of your past, and you know, you give it time to develop and fall and work its way into a song. And then when you're like, there's just a guy who cares about your numbers and music execs that say, okay, well, you need this song done by this month. And it's like, well, I'm trying to be inspired, but also, the world's not really the best right now. So, like, doesn't matter.
See,
like, all right, I'll write about you. Like, same way with, like, Pink Floyd did with Have a Cigar. It's like, let's just write about how bad the music industry is.
Right.
They'll love it. I mean, they don't care. It's still going to sell, but it's just kind of funny how it always works its way in.
That's another interesting topic, like how the monetization of music has changed the artistic process. And I think we did kind of like cover that in one of our episodes last semester.
I mean, it's everywhere.
It's so relevant, especially now, I feel like, with so many different varieties of music that you're able to consume and so many easy ways to kind of boost that fame with the internet. But going back to Working for the Knife, I don't think I said this, but it was written in 2019. It was one of the first tracks that she wrote for the album. And she wrote it after leaving social media and privately deciding to quit the music business before realizing, I'm contractually obligated to do one last album.
I did see that, yeah. And I was going to ask about that earlier, about how there was kind of like a little drama surrounding this album.
Right.
Drama being a loose word for it, but...
Yes, so it did not seem like she wanted to release anything after Be the Cowboy. I think also with the title of the album itself being Laurel Hell, Laurel is in reference to a mountain range in Pennsylvania, and they are like some really, really high peaks in this mountain range. And from my personal opinion, I believe that she's trying to say this Laurel Hell is standing up at the top of a mountain peak over all of the success and fame that you've gathered over the past few years, and recognizing nowhere to go but down, nothing to do but stand here at the top or let it all go and slide down the other side of the mountain. And it's very well represented throughout the album with melancholic lyrics and like discomforting like synths. Like I said, the synths really, I feel like, kind of played a heavy role in it, with it kind of like swelling into these really uncomfortable positions all the time.
I definitely agree with that. The synths played a huge role in that, and I mean that goes back to like the 80s inspired like kind of pop tracks, but also it kind of goes into like the kind of more like subtle and interlude tracks that really kind of like bring the concept of the album home, which is welcome.
I mean, we talked about Working for the Knife. Valentine, Texas is another great song, but I feel like it kind of plays off of a similar thing as Working for the Knife, talking about stepping carefully into the dark, or like as soon as she opens it up, it's kind of showing you that she is recognizing that going into fame is a dark aspect.
I know I heard it in Being the Cowboy. Not Being the Cowboy. Be the Cowboy. That she talked, about me and my boyfriend, and then was it the album as well that had
Me and My Husband?
Me and My Husband. And then in this album, doesn't she also kind of go into a lot of different relationship?
Yeah.
Because I don't know her actual relationship status, but did she go through like breakups or
I was
divorce?
confused about that too.
Or maybe like just pulling, because I know a lot of artists, they'll like pull inspirations from past relationships, but then, they won't like say it, like being a song, hey, this is about Jeremy. Yes. That would be kind of a cool thing, though, if artists did that. Be like, hey, Jeremy, the song's for you.
That would be...
Hate you.
Put like the voicemail at the beginning of SoundCloud tracks.
Yep. I believe that Be the Cowboy was relating to a lot of her personal relationship issues. I didn't do a ton of research into her relationship status right now, and I honestly feel like she most likely keeps it private, considering
very true.
The way she is in interviews and stuff. But I know that the big 3 tracks off of there that went super like mega viral was Me and My Husband, Washing Machine, Heart, and Nobody. And I know that Nobody was just her talking about how she never feels loved by the people she wants to be loved by. And Me and My Husband was about vaguely an unhealthy relationship. And Washing Machine, Heart was about her giving up everything to somebody.
Yeah, I really like that song.
Me too. Toss your dirty shoes in my washing machine. But back to Laurel Hell, I feel like it's now no longer a discussion of her personal things because she feels like she doesn't owe that any longer. Her biggest personal struggle is in relation to the fame that she's gathered, because how could it not be? Imagine gaining so much success and becoming like rich off of your emotion and then having to release another album after realizing I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, imagine being like contractually like obligated to go through like all your shittiest memories and just pour that onto an album. That kind of irks me the wrong way.
Yeah, right. And
because would this album really release if she wasn't contractually obligated to release it?
You can never say for sure. I feel like the artist always struggles and says, oh, I'm all done, but then they never are. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the times, even artists that claim to be done will write just for themselves and they will enjoy that music for themselves. And she might have done that with this, or maybe made it into a poem or something along those lines. But I think that the album is important and well thought out, despite the fact that it is against the machine or whatever, you know what I mean? Like against the industry. So I did want to bring up one thing about Love Me More. So that song drones on a lot, I feel like, and I love it. It's always playing in my head now since we started reviewing this, but tell me it does not give you All Eyes on Me by Bo Burnham vibes. Like,
I can see that, yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I can see that, yeah.
Like, obviously, it's super basic to be like, I need you to love me more, but that's what she says the entire time. And she says, like, love me enough to fill me up, but she's never going to get full. You know what I mean? I think that's great. And then following it with the 8th track, There's Nothing Left Here for You, is a great, like, juxtaposition of, like, fame, 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 fame. I want it. I want it. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, wait, I'm at the top. Once again, that analogy, I'm at the top. There's nothing left to do here. You know, I've kind of, it's almost like the book needs to end. You know what I mean? You can't let the television series, like, you hate it when it drones on for 3 seasons after its peak, because at that point, it's like, what's the point? You could have ended it and it would have been a good finale. But now you had to do the money grab and keep going for more. And she kind of touches on this in a lot of her music.
Yeah, and I think even that's something that can also be away from art as well. Like, we're students here trying to, you know, learn to get a job to then make our way into the world and, you know, have a job that's fulfilling, but also something that we've longed for, something that will keep us stable. It's kind of like a dream. That's the reason why we're here. You know, we wouldn't want to pay all this money for no reason. And I feel like I've known a lot of people. I'm older, and, you know, I know people older than me, and they've kind of made it. Like, one person's a game dev for a studio out in California, and, you know, that's been his dream. He's been working towards it. And he got there, and he's like, yeah, so now it just becomes, you know, Monday through Friday for me. And, you know, it's not really something. He's like, I like doing my job, but, you know, you kind of get used to, oh, there's this expectation, there's this. I can't just do this. I have to just do this. And no matter what, I think humans, unless you're like Steven Spielberg, and even then I think he does as well, you're kind of contrapted in a box in some way. And as humans, we try to live in that box. And I think with Mitski, you know, her being in that box was her safe haven. It was when she would come back from work, or when any other time she would write lyrics and write a song to build up something for herself. And, you know, as much as she loves music and the emotions behind it, you know, she keeps feeding into it. But yeah, now that she's on top, you know, now it's just, okay, well, what, you know, there's no fuel to put in this for the time, or there's no, you know, I'm not at my low in that sense. Yeah. So here she's always writing about her low, and her low was her previous high. So it's like this strange dynamic. And I feel like a lot of people, especially in the pandemic, they kind of, you know, are trying to find their way. And I think that's also why she was a big inspiration for a lot of people. And I think, honestly, I hope this is her swan song, because I think it would be what she wants, and it would be a perfect ending, because I agree. I think when things go on too long, it's that's worse.
Yeah, and in all honesty, I mean, I just lost my train of thought.
Oh, you're good. I kind of went along.
No, you're good.
That was very well stated, by the way.
That was very well stated. Yeah,
I'm way older than these kids. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I think that also going back to the whole thing of her being an immigrant into America, it's kind of this American dream to have something that you're pushing for your whole life, and then eventually to settle down with that. This, like you were saying, just go about your week and Monday to Friday and just have to do what you have to do. But she has a lot of this in her previous albums, kind of like Americanized kind of feelings. Like she even has a song like "I'll Be Your Best American Girl." Like she very much wants that American dream to succeed and to push toward this overwhelming goal that seems unattainable, but for her it obviously is. And unfortunately, like you said, it does become just kind of a, well, what do I do now?
Yeah, well, like what is, the American dream? And I think a lot of, for groups that really love her, like you said, the queer group, or LGBTQI plus, or people that are immigrants or second generation immigrants. I know I've heard a lot of opinions of second generation Indians that they feel like they're growing up and they're like, oh, no one around me is like this. Well, all the people I know are like my father, and I don't want to be like my father. So then let me just try to become them. Whereas a lot of, I forgot his name. I think it was, I'm not going to say it, but he was a Indian comedian, very popular. I think he's like mid-20s. Someone will definitely know, and I'll look after. But he embraces that awkwardness of being a second generation immigrant of like, yeah, like my father is like hugely nothing like anyone else's father. And instead of hiding it, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, I brought kimchi to lunch,
Right,
and just
yeah.
like, that's just me, but whatever, still just a kid or still growing up. And I feel, yeah, it's more of a dialogue that, I know I can't have, at least to reassure people, but I'm glad that, especially like entertainment and music, movies are taking that on more and having them less be stereotyped, like figureheads for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So to kind of wrap it up, I guess we'll talk about the last few tracks
Yeah.
really quick and give it a day, call it a day.
I
But
do want to talk. Oh, sorry,
No,
to cut you
right
off
ahead.
here,
Go
but
right
I
ahead.
did want to talk about "Should Have Been Me" because that was my
Yep.
favorite on the album.
It's
because
great.
it kind of just picked up the tempo a little bit,
Yeah.
which is something I always appreciate. And then obviously kind of has that 80s style, but it experiments with it a bit further than kind of what you see in the other tracks, which I really liked. And like the groovy bass lines, like the guitar plucks and brass sections, it's just like, it's a great song.
Right. And even that like lyrical content of, oh, it should have been me. I should have been the one to be your favorite artist. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. Then rounding it out with I guess this is the end, she says. And she at the very end says, from here I can tell you thank you. So we kind of mentioned that briefly earlier, that she
Yeah.
is thankful. She's very grateful that she was able to live this life of being an artist, but it's the end. I guess this is the end. And I really, really was like confused at first on the run through about the last track, which is
I was
weirdly
confused a bit
titled
too.
That's
Yeah.
Our Lamp. And I thought that it was kind of indicative of like a relationship more than a relationship with fame.
See, that's exactly what I was thinking, because when I listened to the song, I had to pull up the Genius to like the lyrics, because I was like, okay, this kind of isn't like correlating with the rest of the album here. But I mean, I feel like it serves its place though, because it's kind of like, honestly, instrumentally, because it's kind of like the culmination of the sound, and then like with that little synth bridge in the middle, I enjoyed it a lot. But I do think the lyrical substance kind of like differed from the path she kind of laid out.
Yeah, I do like that atmosphere. And I kind of think that it fits with the theme of quarantine when she says, like, I'm looking up into our room where you'll be waiting for me, thinking that's where you loved me. Because I know that a ton of her music was appreciated by people inside their room when they found her and they fell in love with her and did research into her old albums and was like, oh, there's this new artist that I have to be a fan of. But at that point, she had already released the majority of her music. And she's like, oh, yay, well, you finally picked it up. That's when you loved me, but now it's over because that time of my life is over. And
Oh, that's actually really interesting, like, interpretation of that.
that's what I thought it to be,
Okay.
but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I kind of like that more than what I was thinking.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
so I might
Yeah.
use that a little bit.
Yeah, I think overall, though, it was a great album. I was really happy with it. It's a short one. It's simple and it's
pretty
sweet.
short, which,
but
I'm glad if she had to force out some songs, they weren't, like 55 plus minutes.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm glad
short
it
and sweet.
just wasn't like filled with filler.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
there's definitely some points where it kind of seems that way, but I mean, especially for one of these albums being produced in like a contractual circumstance, I'm glad she gave it an actual go, you know?
Right. Yeah, because she could have gone in an entirely different direction and gone mainstream and like entirely devoted her writing process to just getting on the radio. And
And she probably would have made a lot more money that way.
she would have, and she definitely would have made it on the radio at this point. I mean, she's super well liked, but it's so nice to see that authenticity from an artist, even on their very end. You know what I mean?
That's something you have to admire. Just like it's specifically about the art for this artist, which I mean, you see it in the music industry, but not as much as you should.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to give credit where credit is due there.
Yes. Any final thoughts from you?
Overall, I think when you mentioned Mitski or brought her up, as soon as I hit play, I'm like, this is a Lauren list.
Yeah, that's
Look
exactly
at
what
the
I
sad
thought,
girl
too.
saga continues, but
I'm sorry.
No, I like
Lucy
it.
Dacus record, man.
because it's something that I normally don't listen to. So I had, as I was listening, I did take time to make sure I was listening to some of the lyrics, actually reading, because sometimes I just focus on the music, especially on a first listen through. And I'm glad I did, because she obviously has a lot of passion, and however she may be with her music now, where she lies with it, I'm glad that listening to this album, I feel like I heard someone explain like a final mic drop diss in her own album, and it was like perfectly, like, it pleased people that it wanted to please, it displeased people that she meant for it to go out against, like songs with the like the music industry. And honestly, overall, very interesting artist, and I'm really glad I got to listen to it.
Yeah, same.
Good,
This is
I'm
actually
glad.
the only Mitski album I've ever listened to, so I'm sorry to all the Mitski fans out there. Don't come attack me. But
okay, yeah.
I will definitely research her other albums.
I've got some recommendations if you ever
Okay.
need them.
I know you do, Laura.
Yeah, we know that Lauren likes her sad girl music. I'm trying to expand though. I do listen to a lot of other things, but I find that the things that I could talk about for an hour and a half.
It's okay. There's still
Sad
snow
girl music.
outside. We're still wearing masks. You can, like the same thing with have your own Laurel Hell. Be like,
Yeah.
okay, let me just, bundle it up, scratch it out, and then boom, springtime, be perfect.
Yes.
It's still sad girl season. Don't let
Yeah.
anyone
Sad girl
tell
summer,
you.
sad girl spring,
exactly.
sad girl fall.
It's year round around here.
Yeah. All right, y'all. I'm glad you were here with us to review Laurel Hell. It was a phenomenal album, and we would definitely recommend giving it a listen. Thanks for listening to us, and make sure to follow us on all of our social media, and we will see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.